All right, well, welcome everyone to the 2020 Green Smart Market Report overview. This course is approved for 1 hour and continuing education units, as well as AIA, Health, Welfare, and Safety, which may make it applicable to your state-based design or contractor license. I will be your moderator today. My name is Brett Little. I'm with the nonprofit, the Green Home Institute. Our mission is to empower people to make healthier and more sustainable choices in the places we live. Today we're going to be asking, what do builders think of green building in the year 2020? What's in their heads? What are they thinking? And how does COVID-19 impact play a role in that? That's been added to this conversation. So we're thankful for that. And a huge thanks to our top tier sponsor introducing the all new Rheem ProTerra, an energy efficient, quiet, and all electric hybrid heat pump water heater. The future of water heating is finally here. Available now down to 40 gallons, 50, 65, and 80 for the most energy efficient one you can find. You can see here comparing it to a standard tank electric, much more energy efficient, and even a gas system, significantly more energy efficient if you convert those therms to kilowatt hours. Better warranties, vacation settings, water leak detection, and integration with home systems. How these water heaters work is at the top there. You can see they pull in air from the room or the outside. Even in the wintertime, there's heat in the air, believe it. The heat comes in, enters an upper intake port, goes through a refrigerant. Compressor pumps the heated refrigerant to the condenser, transfers to the tank, and then condensated routed away from the unit, and then your client has hot water. There's many different ways to do this. They can be ducted, such as in garages or basements if you want them to be, and they can be strung together for larger developments if you need more hot water. Built-in smart technology for Wi-Fi detection, Wi-Fi integration, leak sensor detection, energy usage tracking, and scheduling for operation mode, which comes real in handy when you're using it to program the water heater to only generate when electric rates are lower on off-peak hours. Many utility programs across the country are using these as grid-like batteries to incentivize this type of behavior. Check out that NRDC report down at the bottom if you want to learn more about that. And head over to Rheem.com to check out the ProTerra today. And then also a huge thanks to our second tier sponsor, Build Equinox, featuring the Serve2 smart ventilation system. This is an integrated heat pump ERV that detects air quality and exhausts only when needed, as well as filters and keeps it at 100% conditioned air. And just this week, they launched their Serve UV to help purify the air of viruses and bacteria. And we did a session that is highly important right now. Get the word out about what we need to do with building science to make our buildings safer during this pandemic. I hope you'll check that out on our YouTube channel. All right, well, I want to welcome our speaker today, Michelle Diller. She's a program manager for sustainability in green building at the National Association of Homebuilders, otherwise known as the NHAB, where she provides technical expertise, education, and advocacy in all aspects of high-performance residential building, with focuses on water, materials, site development, wellness, and resiliency. She works to provide building professionals with cost-effective, optional, above-code choices to integrate into their business models as appropriate, and also serves as the primary technical point of contact for the National Green Building Standard. All right, so with that, Michelle, I will turn it over to you, and please take it away.
All right, here we go. Hello, everybody. Can you see my slides?
Yes, I can.
All right. Hi, everybody. Good afternoon or good morning or good evening, depending on where you are. Thanks to Brett and the Green Home Institute for the opportunity to share with you the results from the latest Green Smart Market Brief. I'm going to also be sharing with you some insights on how COVID-19 has impacted and might continue to impact. And I'm just shrinking my own camera there because then I don't have to see myself as big. On how COVID-19 has impacted and may continue to impact the green building market moving forward. And Brett, my slide did not advance, did it?
No, it did not.
Okay, it did in practice.
We did have this issue last time, and we just had to have them stop sharing it and then just use the sort of overview.
All right.
So you don't want to stop sharing your screen. I just mean you want to pull out of the PowerPoint. Yep, and then just you'll kind of have your other slides unfortunately off to the side. So
Okay, it's not even letting me escape out of the PowerPoint right now. To recap, in the couple minutes there, again, I'm Michelle Diller, and I've been a member of the Sustainability and Green Building team at NHB for about 3 years. Woo, all right, here we go. So the full brief is available for download at the NHB website at nhb.org/SMR. And a quick review of our learning objectives today. We're going to be exploring the state of the green building market activity and inclusion of high performance practices in projects. We'll be examining builders' perspectives on marketing green homes. We'll be identifying the top drivers and obstacles for increasing green building. And we'll be reviewing what green products and practices are being used among builders. First, I want to give you a quick bit of background to kind of set the survey into context. So NHB has teamed with Dodge Data and Analytics, and we've been surveying single and multifamily home builders and remodelers about every 2 to 3 years since 2006. Participants are asked about their take on the state of the green building industry. But over the years, the size of the survey had grown as trends and technologies evolved, and we wanted to capture everything that we could, of course. But after the 2017 report, we decided it was time for a bit of a new approach. So for this brief, we developed 4 to 8 minute surveys covering market activity, green homes, market activity, marketing, drivers and obstacles, and products and practices. So the survey was open to general contractors, home builders, remodelers, and developers from both single and multifamily markets within the United States. We had a total of 2,000 responses across the 4 surveys, which is over 40% higher than the 2017 surveys. So we feel the refresh was successful, both in terms of participation and the type of data that we collected. We also collected basic demographic information, and participants were asked to self-identify their level of green building based on the definition given in the survey, which I'll show you in a moment. Now, we did these surveys last fall prior to the COVID-19 outbreak. So now, of course, consumers have developed a heightened awareness of what works well and what doesn't work well after spending a lot of time in their homes since March. So what would we expect, and what we are hearing from our members so far is that consumers are likely to place a greater importance on factors like efficiency, comfort, and health when they're looking to rent, remodel, or buy their next home. Housing is a critical industry for economic recovery from the pandemic, and these surveys results give us a good benchmark for builders' perceptions on trends, opportunities, and obstacles in the green building market to be able to leverage these practices in concert with the changing consumer demands that we're expecting and that we're starting to see to help building professionals recover and flourish. As promised, the definition of the green building that we did for the survey, just so you can see it. A green home incorporates strategies in design and construction that increase energy, water, and resource efficiency, indoor environmental quality, and minimize environmental impacts on the site, and/or is certified by a third party to the National Green Building Standard, LEED for Homes, or any other green rating system. So a fairly comprehensive definition. So taking a look at the survey, who responded? We had 69% single-family builders, 26% single-family remodelers, and a total of builders and remodelers from the multifamily world of 6%. So the bar graphs here show the green building activity breakdown by builder type. For instance, 21% of all single-family builders surveyed were dedicated green builders, as you can see in the top left of the bar. That means dedicated green builders means they were doing 90% or more of their projects green. Now, some level of green building activity, as defined in the survey, was reported by 70% of multifamily respondents, 60% of single family, and 50% of single family remodelers. And those reporting a majority of green projects make up about a third of the single family builders and multifamily respondents, and about 17% of the single family remodelers, which could be due to the fairly strict definition of green building that we presented in the survey. Engagement by all of these groups is pretty similar to what we saw in 2017. Now, the level of green building self-reported by the respondents is similar across all 4 surveys, as you can see here. And just to set the stage, when referring to green builders throughout the brief and during this presentation, we're talking about those that are reporting 50% more of their projects are green, which is about 30% of the respondents overall if you add the gray and yellow bars at the right together. The dedicated green builders, those doing 90% or more projects, ranges from about 15 to 20% depending on which survey you're looking at. And overall, 41 to 46% of the respondents reported that none of their projects met the definition of green building. And that brings us to our first polling question. Brett, take it away. There we go. Polls open. The first polling question is, who is attending today's webinar? Just to get us an idea of how you match up against the survey respondents. Open.
Looks like we're at about 76% participation, so probably close it.
All right.
And share. Can you see that?
I cannot see it.
Oh, okay, yeah. So we're at, if for those of you who can't see it, about 9% single family, 5% multifamily, 45% architecture or design, 18% other building industry professional, and 23% other.
All right, great. Thank you.
Yep.
And following up on that, so if you do build or directly work on project, what percentage of those residents are green? How would you self-identify?
All right, and we're at about 70% of the vote here. So just if anyone who can see that, we're at about 21% dedicated, 37% 50 to 90%, 16% fewer than half, 21% saying they don't directly work on residents, and only 5% saying no green.
Okay, all right, so we've got a good mix of people. All right, thanks, that helps set the stage. So now let's take a look at the results from the survey. We're going to start with green building market activity. So this chart shows how often single-family builders employed a type of green strategy regardless of their self-identified level of green building, as well as how many reported doing so at least 75% of the time, which is the bottom bar, the darker green. So one of the big takeaways of this edition of the survey is that almost all single-family builders are using green practices at least sometimes, and some are using them most of the time. Over 90% of the single-family builders use energy efficiency practices on at least some of the homes they build, and over 2/3 use them on most projects. About 2/3 of the builders are also using practices to improve indoor environmental quality, water efficiency, and resource efficiency in at least some of their homes, and about 1/3 of them are using these strategies on most of their projects. And similar results were seen among the single-family remodelers too. So even though 2/3 of single-family builders did not identify themselves as green, and 42% reported they don't do any green projects at all, these results are showing that high-performance green building practices are regularly being used in the single-family market. Now, when we focus in on the green builders, what do we see as the best? What do they see as the best strategies to improve green home performance? So remember that green builders are defined as those doing more than 50% of their projects green. So the chart on the left shows what they reported as the top practices to improve green home performance, with the choices being kind of in broad buckets, as you can see. Energy efficiency dominates, as it does with most builders, which we saw on the previous slide, and it's not anything new. We've been trending this since we began doing the surveys among all the types of respondents. Healthier indoor living environments and durability rounded out the top 3, and this is the same distribution we saw back in 2017. But new to the top results in 2020 is smart home tech, which was listed by over 1/4 of the green builders as a top practice to improve green home performance. The chart on the right shows what types of practices this group of builders is using on at least 75% of their home projects. Builders had a menu of big buckets and then also some more specific practices to choose from. So energy efficiency in general was chosen by almost all, And then 88% also named a type building envelope, and you can see 61% are employing high performance ventilation in over 75% of their homes. Water efficiency in the building is being employed most of the time by about 2/3 of these builders, and about 1/4 of the time for the outdoors. And I'm going to discuss some regional variations regarding that outdoor water use later. Practices to provide a healthier indoor living environment were being used by about 2/3 of the green builders on at least 75% of their projects before the pandemic hit. So this positions them well to respond to an expected increased consumer focus on these type of features. In this slide, I've carried over the chart from the last slide that was on the right, now it's on the left. And the new chart on the right shows what other builders are doing on at least 50% of their homes. So while we ask the question a bit differently of the two groups, the trends can be seen clearly. All builders are using the same high performance practices with the same relative use. The list tracks identically all the way throughout. The difference is that the green builders have higher overall engagement rates. So this information is useful for highlighting to consumers practices that add value, and for targeting aspects that could be included in MLS listings and captured in appraisals to benefit the most builders. And that brings us to polling question number 3. For those of you who are involved in some kind of aspect of residential building, what type of practices are you using on at least half of your projects? And you can check all that are applicable. All right, so the poll is open. Let's see what all of you out there are doing in your homes.
All right, we're at about 77% here. And so huge 87% on energy efficiency, 83 on improved air quality, 61 on water, 65 on resource efficiency, and 57 on green site and lot development. So yeah, pretty much, other than resource and water efficiency, pretty much followed the track all the way down.
All right, great. Oh yes, and I was supposed to take the last, the software wouldn't let us put the last two on the poll, so I apologize for the discrepancy there. All right, thank you everybody. All right, let's move on to why are single family builders building green? And the top reasons that they are doing it is listed on the left chart. According to our survey, among those building a majority of their projects green, the top reason by far is because it's the right thing to do, which was named by 68% of respondents. 47% are building green to create healthier homes. 42% want the reputation in the industry to reflect this type of construction. And about 1/3 are using green building to differentiate their product in their local market. Only 1/4 of the green builders said that they built green due to market demand. But as seen on the chart on the right, the lack of demand was identified by 3/4 of builders not highly engaged in green as the top reason that they're not doing more projects. So this presents an opportunity to increase market growth for green building by increasing consumer interest and knowledge, and subsequently the demand for green. And the pandemic may have kickstarted that. The belief that green building is too expensive is also a top reason for not building green among half of the builders that have lower levels of green building activity. And we're going to dive more into the cost issue a little later. I wanted to point out that we also captured some trends in emerging practices in this year's survey to serve as benchmarks moving forward. I had mentioned the survey asked all respondents on what percentage of your total home projects do you use resilient features to help homes withstand natural disasters such as flooding and wind events. You can see here in the pie chart on the left that green builders and remodelers are including one or more types of resilient features in at least some of their projects almost 90% of the time, with 64% of them using them at least half of the time. So this is a much higher rate of use that we saw than participants who have lower green engagement, where over 1/3 of them are not using resilient features at this time at all. So we'll continue to track that moving forward. We also asked On what percentage of your total home projects do you incorporate smart home technology specifically for better energy management? And we saw earlier that a quarter of the builders thought that this was a great way to improve green home performance. So who's actually using it? We see that 40% of green builders are using the smart home tech on the majority of their projects, and 29% of the rest of the builders are also using it to manage energy on the majority of their projects. So it's fairly well used by builders. And then this is one area that we're also seeing consumer shifts since the onset of the pandemic. So Green Builder Media's Cognition Survey looked at the drivers for smart home purchases in 2020. The pre-pandemic respondents reported buying them primarily for entertainment and security purposes. But since March, the results are showing a broader range of reasons, with nearly half purchasing to improve energy efficiency. So this puts builders already familiar with incorporating that type of tech at an advantage in the market, and it drives consumer demands for others to start offering it. All right, now we're going to move on to the next topic of the brief, marketing green homes. First, the opinions on the cost of building green, and there's always lots of opinions on that. As seen in the bar chart on the left here, most builders believe building green costs more than building a traditional home. Almost all of the builders having low to no green involvement believe it, and 85 to 88% of the green builders also do. These results are consistent with the results of all of our previous surveys. This isn't on the chart, but if you look at it by builder type, perceiving green to cost more, we saw 86% of the single family builders, 72% of the single family remodelers, and 74% of the multifamily professionals. However, I also want to point out that 15% of those identifying as green builders do not think there is a cost premium. So this highlights the concept that once builders conquer the learning curve, have subcontractor teams that are comfortable with and experienced in green building practices, and can realize economies of scale where possible, green building can and is being done cost effectively. Over in the pie charts on the right, I'm showing how much more builders believe it costs to build green. You can see about half who believe it costs more report a 5 to 10% premium, and about a quarter believe it costs more than 10% to build green. So the general consensus is that builders think green costs more to build. Therefore, there must be a market willing to pay for that premium in order for builders and building professionals to be financially successful. So the study looked at this a couple of different ways, both of which are shown on this very busy slide. All builders were asked how much of a premium they thought customers would pay in the chart on the left. So you can see about 20% of the single family and 1/3 of the multifamily respondents said their customers aren't going to pay any kind of price premium. But roughly about a quarter of all respondents believe about a 1 to 4% premium is obtainable. 1/3 of the single family builders felt they could get 5 to 10%, and 12% thought they could get over 10%. If you remember on the previous slide, we saw that about half thought it costs 5 to 10% more, and about a quarter thought it costs more than 10%. So the respondents are reporting a gap between the cost premium to build and the premium that they are realizing. We can seek opportunities to close that gap by reducing the premium to build green to relieve pressure on the builder side, and by shifting the conversation from cost to value and from first cost to the total cost of ownership to convince consumers to pay more for green. Now, the survey also asked green builders how likely it is for different types of buyers to be willing to pay a premium, or renters. Those results are seen in the chart on the right. This chart shows that first-time buyers were found to be the least likely to pay more, with only 17% of them being willing, while over half the buyers seeking to downsize or upscale are seen as willing to pay a green premium by the green builders. So that helps you to target your market. And then we asked builders why consumers would pay more for green. It's critical to understand why they would pay more for green and what's driving different types of customers in order to have successful conversations with them. Builders who responded that building green costs more were asked what types of strategies provide value above the extra cost. Those results are shown on the bar chart on the left. Lower operating costs, comfort, and improved health and well-being top the list. Though this should carry well into the post-COVID-19 onset market landscape, as we expect these features to be in the forefront of customers' thoughts when buying or remodeling. Then, as seen on the chart on the right, the green builders also perceive these value adds as being one of the top 2 reasons that different types of buyers are willing to pay a green premium. So the chart shows you the different types of buyers that we saw on the previous slide. and what green builders think what type of categories they're willing to pay more for. So green builders see lower operating costs as a top driver for all of these categories. And in NAHB's consumer-based survey, what home buyers really want, in 2019, home buyers were willing to pay a median of $5,000 and an average of $8,700 more for a home to save $1,000 per month on their utility bills, translating to the lower operating costs. Framing indoor air quality features as improved health and well-being and providing greater comfort are also perceived as top drivers to entice some types of buyers to spend more upfront. We take a look here at the results of another Green Builder Media Cognition Survey. This one's from May 2020. They asked which segment of the housing industry will be most affected by the coronavirus. And we see that 35% of the respondents believe it's going to be health and wellness and indoor air quality. So this further informs the information from the previous slide, which I've put back up here. About half of all builders already thought customers would pay more for these type of features before the pandemic. And green builders also identified market segments willing to pay for the value added by these types of features. So this information can be used by all builders to position themselves to meet the customer wants in a way that works best for their business model. Which brings us to our last set of polling questions. We'd like to know if building green costs you more than building a traditional code-built residence. And the poll is now open.
All right, let's give it another 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. And so we've got a majority, 32% say yes, less than 5%. Oh, I'm sorry, I couldn't see the color there, but actually 45% say yes, 5 to 10%. 32% say yes, less than 5%. 14 don't know, and 9% say no.
All right, so this is tracking fairly like the survey results themselves did.
Mm-hmm.
Final polling question, if you answered yes, as a lot of you did, are you able to recoup that added cost in your sales? And the poll is now open.
All right, and 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. So we've got, let's make sure I look at the right color here. Okay, yeah, so yes, 50% say yes all of the time, 17% say yes sometimes, and 11% say, or not applicable is 22%, and then no is 11%.
Well, I'm happy to see such a high number for yes all of the time. That's great. That's great news to hear. So the yes sometimes and the no's, well, hopefully that you can come away from this with some information and ideas on how to turn that into yes all of the time. All right, thank you everybody for your participation. So now that we've identified some market segments that builders and remodelers believe will pay more for green, let's take a look at selling green to learn more about if the builders in the survey are recouping these costs and their ideas on how to do that. Participants were asked to select the ways they demonstrate to customers that a home or apartment or condominium is green from a list of 6 options. The top 4 responses are shown here. The other 2 choices were green appraisal form and silent salesperson language. So the top 4 here, overall, a higher percentage of the single-family builders reporting using these methods as compared to remodelers or multifamily respondents in general, with roughly around a third of them using each of the techniques fairly evenly. You can see that the HERS home energy score ranked the highest for single family, and website marketing actually ranked the highest for multifamily. Respondents were also asked which terms they perceive as being the most effective for describing green features to customers. So the top 2 terms, operating efficiency and long-term utility savings, both reflect the importance of having reduced operating costs, which was the top reason that the builders believe all types of homeowners would pay more for green. But when you keep going down the list, the terms high performance and sustainable ranked quite a bit lower, and the term green didn't even make our top results. These terms are used regularly by building science professionals, but they're not seen as highly influencing customers at this point in the marketplace. And even though builders cite constructing healthier and durable homes as top reasons to build green, as we saw earlier, prior to the pandemic, those terms were not seen as being effective in influencing customers. It could be connected to both the challenge of trying to define those terms for consumers and proving the results to them. But we'll see, we may see a shift in these results the next time we conduct the survey as customers put more emphasis on health and wellness. We've been informally taking the market pulse with our members, and here's a couple insights from the two of them who focus on high performance products. One of our building industry professionals, builders and developers must understand that the health and wellness of a home buyer's family is the top priority of potential home buyers right now. Using sales and marketing tools to demonstrate that they're specifying the healthiest construction products and systems that the industry has to offer is essential to make that sale. One of our multifamily designers, light and fresh air, air circulation are two components that can help prevent and or kill viruses. The buyers and residents will care about knowing about the air, and they're going to pay for better systems. So that's what we're seeing coming out anecdotally in the post-COVID world so far. Now, I had mentioned earlier the entire process, and including appraisals and real estate agent, because the process of selling a home includes the designer, the builder, and the buyer, but it also includes the appraisers and the real estate agents. Reflecting the added value of a green home in an appraisal is important to help builders and developers sell green at a price that reflects the difference between the green home and a home built to code and an existing home. However, it's still relatively rare for builders and remodelers doing green projects to see that additional value of green reflected in the appraisals. Only 11% are reporting that this occurs frequently or always, and 69% say it's infrequent or it's never happening. Of those who are seeing the value reflected, which is pulled out in the bar graph on the right, a third-party certification is seen as the most valuable piece of information to make this happen. Excuse me. The green appraisal form was only considered useful by 15% of respondents. The form is currently being revised, and we're hoping education on how to complete it and the benefits of doing so could increase its use and therefore also its value. Moving over to the real estate piece of the transaction, most of the green home builders report that they see green features reflected in the MLS listings, but only 16% say it's a frequent occurrence, while the majority say it happens sometimes or infrequently. Greater use of these fields could help home buyers interested in green be more aware of available market options and help drive demand, and there has been a movement to get green features included in more of the MLSs. Use of these options can also communicate efficiency and comfort to all buyers, making a home more attractive in a COVID-influenced market. So NAHB's findings regarding selling green in this and other surveys, along with the National Association of Realtors findings in their annual sustainability survey, showcased an opportunity to raise awareness of the benefits of green homes and the importance of both builders and real estate agents in the home buying process. So in July of this year, a joint initiative was launched called Home Performance Counts, which is designed to help consumers better understand the rapidly growing high-performance home marketplace, homes that are prioritizing comfort, durability, wellness, and affordability. So I encourage you to visit the website, homeperformancecounts.info, to check out the resources there as a supplement to today's discussion, because that could be an entire webinar in itself. So I just wanted to make you aware of this new initiative. The next topic we're going to take a look at today is drivers and obstacles. In this year's survey, respondents were asked to rank the top 3 drivers that would encourage them to do more green projects from a list of options. So the top 7 responses for the single-family builders and remodelers are shown in the chart here. And I'll also speak to multifamily. The results show what single-family builders and remodelers ranked first in the dark green portion of the bar chart, that's seen on the left, and what they ranked number 2 or 3 in the lighter portion. And the total of those two are shown as the gray percentage at the end of each bar. So buyer demand for green homes is the top driver in the single family market, with 66% of respondents ranking it in their top 3, followed by the availability of affordable, high quality green products. And we saw the same relative ranking in the multifamily responses. Almost 40% cite accurate appraisals as a top driver. And we saw earlier that only about 30% of green builders reported that appraisals are reflecting the added value of green. So there's a gap to be conquered there. And 25% of multifamily respondents also chose appraisals in their top 3. So these results show a significant opportunity to broaden the green building marketplace by being able to obtain accurate appraisals. Increasing the pool of certified green appraisers who understand high performance and reflecting its value in their appraisals can help drive this market. And also requesting an appraiser who is qualified to look at the high performance features in your project will help broaden the market here. Now, where we just saw buyer demand as a top driver to doing more green building, the lack of buyer demand was reported as the biggest obstacle to doing more green projects by 78% of single family builders and remodelers and by 70% of the multifamily respondents as well. A close second for both groups is the price premium, with the price, quality, and availability of green products also being a concern. And we'll be tracking that post-COVID as well, as there's been issues with the supply chain since the onset of the pandemic, and we'll see how that influences the market. Now, despite overall industry concern about skilled workers, concerns about them ranked relatively low by those surveyed before the onset of the pandemic, regarding green construction. And we'll be tracking to see if and how all of these obstacles shift post-COVID. Now, the final survey of the SmartMarket Brief asked builders and remodelers about their use of green products and practices. We asked respondents how often customers are asking them about green products. For those who are asked frequently about them, we asked what types of products consumers most often inquire about. And you can see here that energy efficient products and systems by far, with 84% rank it in their top 3, followed by those impacting indoor air quality, water conserving products and systems, and renewable energy systems. Now, that was prior to COVID-19. And what are building professionals hearing now from customers? You can see from these quotes that healthy homes and efficient systems are on the minds of many. We've got a number of builders in different areas of the country that have reported back to us what customers are calling and asking about. People want a healthier home. They want homes that are generating their own utilities so that they are independent and they can live perhaps farther away from city centers now that more people are working from home. Seen an increase for demand for HVAC technology that promotes healthy indoor air. People are in general asking, how healthy is my home? And builders and developers are getting more requests for things such as ductless heat pump systems, but combined with heat recovery ventilation and air scrubber technology. People are really starting to pay attention to what the air quality is like inside their homes. And I suspect a lot more people, if we took a separate survey, are changing their air filters more often than they used to. So let's drill down a little bit and take a look at what types of products and practices are being in use, what we found in the survey. So this is an overview here. We asked builders and remodelers to select, excuse me, this is the top products. All right. This is an overview, and this is different than, I'm missing a slide, I apologize. So I don't know where it went, but we'll move on because we've got plenty to talk about here. So what we're taking a look at here is all of the products and practices that are shown in the chart on the right are used by 60% or more of the builders and remodelers on over half of their projects. So you can see here that everybody that we surveyed are using a great deal of things that have to do with energy efficiency, LED lighting, energy efficient appliances. They're looking at right sizing their HVAC system. They're looking at highly efficient HVAC, insulation that's above code minimums, windows that are above code minimums, and 60% are focusing on air tightness as well, and duct insulation. A lot of things that are to do with energy efficiency and some combined with indoor air quality there too. And we've also got a high amount of activity going on with water conserving plumbing fixtures and faucets at 72% of all builders and remodelers, and water conserving appliances at 60%. There's my renewable energy. I want to take a step back here to take a look at a category that's not being heavily employed, at least not yet. The last one showed what builders are using on at least half their projects. But this is renewable energy systems. And we asked them to select renewable energy systems that they also use on at least half their projects, which is a high bar for renewables, but we wanted to be consistent with the other products and practices results, especially moving forward, to see how this trends. So right now, less than 1/10 of the builders reported using that these systems are used in at least half of their projects. The green builders are using solar and geothermal at slightly higher rates, but the use of on-site energy storage is still very rare for all respondents at only 3%. But as consumers use more power, the more that they're home, we might start to see an upward shift the next time that we ask these questions. And we're also looking at adding solar ready to the ask to get more information about that segment of the market next time. So if we go back to all of the products that are being used, and let's start with the energy conserving category. Here's the top energy conserving products and practices with their use now broken out between all respondents and those that are doing 50% or more green projects so that you can see the differences. LEDs, energy efficient appliances, and right sizing the HVAC system are the most popular, and these findings are consistent with the previous green market studies that we've done. Green builders are using all of these products and practices at higher percentages, but as you can see in the chart, these 8 strategies are all being used by at least half the respondents on at least half their projects. So that validates what we talked about earlier in the study, that green building practices are being used by all builders, whether or not they're really identifying themselves as green at this point. If we move on to water, the top table shows indoor water efficiency practices and the bottom shows outdoor. At least half the builders are using all of the indoor practices on at least half of their projects, which with higher use rates seen among the green builders. Outdoor water efficiency products and practices are used to a lesser extent, but there's also a great deal of regional variation, as I mentioned earlier in the presentation. The use of drought-tolerant landscaping is significantly higher in the West and the South, at about 1/3, than we found in the Northeast and the Midwest, which was about 12%. The use of drip irrigation is significantly higher in the West at 44% than in the other 3 regions, where it's ranging between 7 to 20%. The use of rainwater collection and recycled water from a utility is still pretty rare. Less than 10% of all builders are using these technologies on the majority of their projects. We'll continue to track this as water rates increase and water scarcity becomes a larger issue in some parts of the country. Looking at the indoor environmental quality results, the top 3, direct outdoor ventilation, duct insulation, and low VOC materials, are used by half or more of all builders and roughly 3/4 of all green builders. The second tier shows products and practices that are used by about 1/3 of all builders and nearly half of the green builders on the majority of their projects. Here, there was also a great deal of regional variability. We had in the use of increased moisture control, which was higher in the Midwest than in the West, keeping boilers out of conditioned spaces, which was 21% in the Midwest, but was 40% or higher in all of the other regions, and radon control measures, which pretty much paralleled the EPA radon maps, not surprisingly. Now, the quotes I showed you a few slides ago all touched upon healthy indoor environments. The Shelton Group is specifically looking at consumers' thoughts on indoor air quality, both pre and post-pandemic. They found that 18% of Americans were more concerned about indoor air quality in May of 2020 than before the pandemic. So it's going to be interesting to see if this number increases when it's asked again, as we learn more about the virus and how it can be transmitted. Also interesting is their research on the connection that consumers were already drawing between their health and indoor environments pre-pandemic. 72% of them believe their homes had a moderate to strong impact on their health. Now, builders can frame that conversation around the high performance practices they are already incorporating into their homes in terms of how they are designing the home to be healthier to engage the consumer. Also, 51% recognize the connection between ventilation and indoor air quality. And this is knowledge that builders and designers can leverage to communicate the value of high performance strategies. So we've looked at a lot of information today. If you would like to unpack the survey results in more depth, please download the brief for free at nhb.org/SMR, and feel free to contact me later if you have follow-up questions after the presentation. But let's conclude with a summary of the key findings from the brief, as well as some next steps for NAHB on this topic. So the Green Building Market Activities Survey showed that a perceived lack of market demand is the top reason that builders are not building green. Almost all respondents use energy efficiency strategies, and more than 2/3 of them do so on the majority of their projects. Over 2/3 of respondents use indoor environmental quality and water efficiency strategies, and about 1/3 of them use them on the majority. And green builders are more likely to be using resilient features and smart home tech on their projects. Recapping the Marketing Green Home Survey on the right, almost all builders believe it costs more to build green, with half saying it costs about 5 to 10% more. 15% of the green builders report no cost differential. Buyers seeking to upscale or downsize as perceived as the most likely to be willing to pay more for a green home. Obtaining third-party certification is the top way single-family builders are demonstrating green. And green features are rarely being included in MLS real estate listings or reflected in home appraisals at the time of the survey. Moving on to drivers and obstacles, consumer demand is the top driver for building more green homes, and lack of demand is the top obstacle. The availability of affordable, high-quality green products is also a key driver, with the lack of these products seen as a key obstacle. Indoor water efficiency strategies are widely employed by all participants. Use of outdoor is less common and varies by region. Among green products and practices, we've got energy efficiency dominating. 8 different practices are used by more than half of all builders on at least half their projects. And almost 10% of all builders and about 15% of green builders are using solar or geothermal on more than half of their projects. And finally, I wanted to let you know about NAHB's upcoming research that will include looking at capturing the impact of COVID-19 in the residential building sector. I had earlier mentioned a stat from the What Home Buyers Really Want 2019 edition about what buyers are willing to pay up front to save $1,000 per year in utility costs. We'll be looking at that again and what the virus impact is on that. This survey was just launched. It was just fielded a month or two ago, so the results are still being put together and will be out in a few months. So we'll be looking at things like that, the desirability for green home features, home size, move from central cities to medium and low density areas, as well as many other things about what home buyers are looking for in the post-COVID world. And then as far as this survey, the SmartMarket Brief, we're looking at doing a supplemental survey to the ongoing series to capture the 2020 COVID-19 marketplace. So stay tuned for that. And at that, I thank you very much for your attention, and I am happy to field any questions. You can also find more information on our website there, and the NHB_green is our Twitter handle. Thank you, Brett.
Great, thank you so much. We do have some questions coming in, and real quick before we get to those questions, for those of you looking to get your continuing education, please take the survey that's either emailed to you or that pops up. For those of you watching this in the future on demand, take that quiz with an 80% passing rate. To find the quiz on our YouTube channel, click on the YouTube link. Then on the left there, click on Show More. Then on the right, click under Need CUs and follow it over to the Thinkific quiz taking platform, and you can take your quiz right there. And a huge thanks to our top tier sponsors, Mitsubishi Electric, to help you get to net zero on single-family, multifamily, new and existing projects, all-electric heat pump systems, Rheem for the new ProTerra, and Build Equinox for smart ventilation systems. Thanks to all of them, our board of directors, our volunteers, and all of our sponsors who allow us to do what we do. So yeah, another question that came in, do you capture any data, whether it's within that renewable energy sector or whether it's in another part of your study on passive solar features such as window glazings, window to wall ratios, overhangs, shading at all?
That's a great question. Thank you. We have not in this particular survey. As I mentioned, we decided to go down specifically to 5 to 8 minute surveys. And this is why we work with Dodge Data and Analytics to get us down to that, because of course we wanted to ask all those questions. But we did not ask them in this survey, but I'm taking a note also because we do get the opportunity in some of the Wells Fargo Home Index surveys that are done every month of builders through NAHB. Sometimes we get to ask supplemental questions, and that is a great topic to try to capture some more of those details.
Mm-hmm. So I know with everything going on from a building standpoint, there's a lot on people's minds as far as, you know, the cost of lumber going up significantly. Within your study at all, was there, do you survey folks on advanced framing or do you plan to? The reason I ask is I know any strategies that can be used to reduce wood needed must be able to save costs. So do you think that'll be more important? Or do you think you'll be able to try to find that out in the next one that you're doing?
Yeah, I do think that that is something we are definitely looking at as an ad for the next time that we ask these questions, because you are absolutely right. Lumber prices are up more than 170% since mid-April, and we're estimating that that is adding more than $16 to the price of a typical new single-family home, which is more than significant. So you're right, advanced framing is a way to get down the amount of wood that's being used in the houses. I can tell you, as far as finding some more details on that right now, since we haven't specifically asked that question yet, if our viewers want to take a look at our Eye on NHB's Eye on Housing blog post, Eye as an eyeball, that you can find all of the information from our economists that they're putting out. And they just posted a day or two ago about how much wood framing versus concrete versus steel is being used. And you can find more information about what's going on with the lumber prices and what's going on with things such as framing products. So we're definitely going to be looking at that for the future.
Great. I'm not sure I understand this question. So what was the percentage wood framing increase to house? So I don't know if you understand that question or if they want to re-ask it.
They can try re-asking it. I'll take a stab at it, though, that they might be what I just reiterated about the prices. I said they're up 170%. So for a typical new single-family home, for us, we're translating that into adding $16,000 to the price of a home.
Wow. Okay. Thank you. Yeah. And if there's a follow-up to that, please let us know.
If you wanted to know something different, please type it in the chat.
Yeah. So I know National Green Building Standard, which you're involved in, captures a lot of data when you certify projects. Do you aggregate that data and also try to make sense out of what's going on there with what folks are using from, I mean, you have a lot of questions, a lot of ways you can accumulate points. So if you aggregate that, you must have some really good details too. Do you look at that as well within your studies?
So that actually will be a great question for Cindy Wasser next week.
Okay.
Because, and I'll tell you why. It's because Home Innovation actually administers the National Green Building Standard. So they that actually get the certifications in and get all of that data in.
All right. We'll pass it off to her then. So I found this interesting, and maybe maybe there's no response to it. Maybe this is just a comment that I need to make. But when you started out the session, you had said the number, at least what I thought I saw, and correct me if I'm wrong, but the number one reason people do green building is because it's the right thing to do. And yet, when we go through these surveys at the end, the biggest driver you had said, or biggest complaint, or reason that it's not happening, is because of either consumer demand or lack of consumer demand. So if it's the right thing to do, why do you need someone to demand it? Why not just do the right thing because it's the right thing to do?
And I'm very proud of you for catching that, because yes, I myself in the results. So I'm impressed that you noticed that, because yes, you're right. There's a complete disparity there. We've got a number of, and I can go back to the slide if I can get the, oh yeah, the escapes decided to work now. Excellent. Okay. Because you're right, when we go back, we take a look at why they're building green. I can remember which slide, there it is. You're right, 68% of them, of builders doing at least 50% more of their homes green, said it was the right thing to do, and only 25% said it was market demand. But yet when we asked the question differently as far as the top driver in the marketplace, it was market demand that was driving them. So we'll go back and we'll take a look at, and we haven't done this analysis yet, but I need to go back and take a look at if right thing to do was asked in the top drivers or not, for one. Because if it wasn't, that could be driving the skew in these results right here. You know, if you didn't ask it the second time, but we should have, because, you know, we were consistent through it. But to be honest, I'm not quite sure why. I'm not quite sure what's in their heads, you know, although you could pick more than one reason for why you are building green. So if you've got a lot of green builders, they know it's the right thing to do, but market demand is maybe driving how much of it they do to see what level of green builder they're putting at. I'm speculating here, you know, if it's driving you to the 50% level or if it's driving you to the 90% level, you know, depending on your business model and what you can, you know, how efficiently you're doing it, you know, the right thing to do will go so far, but then you've also got to have customers buying it.
Right. Yeah, well, thank you for at least for taking a look at that and considering it. So another, keeping on that wood conversation, one of our attendees wanted to chime in and share that they're building fortresses, ICFs, steel studs, and all concrete, no wood. Very resilient for sure. And then they're asking what kind of price difference should they expect if they would have switched to lumber. And I guess my answer to that is, what kind of price difference are you seeing if you spec your house on lumber? But, you know, Michelle, I don't know if you can, I mean, I suspect even with the wood increases that ICFs and steel are still going to be higher cost, but what do you see out there?
So I actually don't have that information off of the top of my fingers. That would be through our economists. I'm happy to hunt it down if you want to send me an email, and I'll get back to whoever asked that question with a little bit more detail about it. The information I do have off the top of my head is that, you know, 90% of new homes are wood framed, 10%, about 10% are concrete, and only about 0.5% are steel framed. So it's a much smaller part of the market, but I feel sure our team has some data somewhere about that. I just don't have it on the off the top of my head.
Sure. Yeah. Thank you. Yeah. So if you want to reach out to her, you can find out more. Hey, I did catch something in passing, and I don't know if you have any more information on this. I found interesting down at the bottom right there in one of your slides. I think it said something about you're seeing more requests for ductless systems with HRVs. Did I see that? Do you know what I'm talking about?
Yes, I did. You did see that.
Okay.
It's right
so
here.
my question on that then is, is that regional? Is that really just in the South and the West, or was that overall?
We haven't gone out and surveyed all of our members as far as overall things like this. We're looking at doing that, but honestly, our focus as an organization the past 6 months has really been to keep builders building and safe building. So
Right.
we haven't done a full-on effort of asking them things. We ask anybody that we talk to, and that's where we're getting some of these quotes, but we haven't blanketed it across the country. This is coming out of Washington State. So we're definitely from, I've seen it from several builders in the Pacific West area, and I've seen it from a couple in the Northeast and a couple in the South. So, you know, obviously it's not statistically significant, but we are seeing it in various parts of the country and Texas as well too.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. So, we are at our time. I don't see any more questions. So, Michelle, I really wanted to thank you for your time, and thanks for the National Association of Homebuilders for lending you us today to speak with our group. Where can people get more information if they want to learn more or reach out to you?
Sure, thanks. Oh, there you go. We've got the last screen up there. So thank you for having me, Brett. Thank you to the Green Home Institute and everybody who attended today. So if you'd like to learn more information, please check out nhb.org/sustainability and check us out on Twitter. We post about 2 to 4 times a day on things that are going on, happenings in the green building industry.
Great. Thank you so much, Michelle. And again, just everyone, we're always going to do our webinar series, but we do want to see you all in person someday, hopefully next year in the future. So stay in, stay masked, use building science to help ventilate buildings, and we can beat this thing, and we can all see each other in person again soon. So stay safe out there. Thank you so much. Take care. Goodbye.
Bye-bye.
Be sure to check out all of our courses available online that you can watch anytime and anywhere to pick up your CEUs. Before you go, make sure to subscribe to us on YouTube to get weekly updates and stay up to date on green building science courses, webinars, and home tours. Thanks again.